walks into a bar and just never comes out. I know it sounds like the start of a bad joke, but this really happened. Strange things are happening to real people all the time, and you want to know about it, you little weirdo. Part 3. Today we are talking about Brian Shaffer, and Brian had just about everything going for him. He was 27, he was in college to become a doctor, he was really close to family and friends, and it seemed like his life was going perfectly. On March 31st, 2006, Brian went out on the town with his friends. This was the beginning of spring break, and so his friends and him just kind of went out to celebrate. Around 9 o'clock p.m., they started their journey at the Ugly Tuna Saloona. And I'm laughing because that name is crazy. But that is where our story begins and where our story unfortunately ends. But in the in-between, Brian went bar hopping with his friends. They went down the street, just kind of going to different bars, and then they ended up back at the Ugly Tuna Saloona at the end of the night. All of his friends say that it was a pretty normal night. Nothing crazy happened, no fights, no anything like that. And it was just normal celebration of the beginning of spring break. At the end of the night, they go back to the Ugly Tuna, and you can kind of see Brian on security cameras at 2 a.m. This is the last time he is seen, and he is standing outside the bar with two women just talking. Now, this bar is interesting. I've never been to a bar like this, and I'm sure there's lots of them, but it is very weird. It's like a 2-story thing. The entrance has, like, you go in and there's like escalators going down into the bar. This is where Brian is seen. He's at the top of the escalators with these two women, and then he goes back inside. At least that's what people think. And then that's it. His friends come out, they kind of look around, but they don't see him, and so they assume he went home. They leave, and everyone begins their weekend. Now, people could not get a hold of Brian for the next 2 days, and by Monday, it was becoming very odd. So, they started a police report and him missing. And so the investigation began, and this was a weird one. So they went through all of security tape of the bar that night, where he was last seen, of course. And it seems that Brian went back into the bar, like everyone had presumed, but he never comes out. Like, they've went through this footage, people have gone through this footage, it's very highly viewed, and he never comes out. At least that's what people see. He just disappears inside of the bar. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, best friend, that does not happen. Okay, he is in there somewhere, right? Well, it's very complicated because there are other exits, but it doesn't seem that they lead anywhere or could have been plausible that he went that way. Like, there's a service door that leads to a hallway, and you walk down, and then you open up another door, and it was a construction site. Like, literal construction site. No one would be able to navigate that at night, let alone having a couple drinks. There's no way he would have been able to get across that construction site, right? But police are determined to find him, so they do a search. They search other cameras that were down the block. It doesn't see him going in any direction. Like I said, they viewed the tapes over and over and over again to see if maybe like he was wearing something different, put a hat on, anything, and it never seemed to be anybody that looked even closely to Brian. He searched his home and it didn't seem like anything was amiss. His home was exactly how he left it. His car was parked outside. Didn't seem like anybody drove it. It was as if, and I know I keep saying it, but it's crazy, he walked into the bar and never came out. Literally what happened. So, of course, the internet blew up, and of course, people were talking about it. So, people are like, what are the theories here? What happened, right? Because that didn't happen, okay? So, the first theory is that he wanted to start a new life. He had things going for him. It seemed he liked his life, but you never know what people really think. So people wonder if maybe he just walked away from life. Maybe he did walk out a back door or wear something different and just walked out and started a new life, which definitely could be plausible. But why? And where did he go? And how did he do that? That remains unknown. Something I found interesting in my research is that supposedly a cop let it slip that there was some phone pings after Brian disappeared from his phone. Now, there were different phone pings. I'm talking about recently after he went missing. There was phone pings of the area around the Ugly Tuna Saloona. That is what I'm talking about. That's very strange. Later on, after he went missing, there was phone pings that his girlfriend had tried to call and it pinged, but they think that was just a technical glitch and that it wasn't really a ping. So the first set, the set that was by the Ugly Tuna Saloona, seems a little strange to me if that is true. It's kind of weird, but we don't know if it's confirmed. Now, the second theory I'm sure I'm going to get comments on, and that is that his friends did something. Now, there is no evidence that his friends did anything that night to him, but people definitely point the finger. They say maybe him and one of his friends got in a fight that night, and his friends decided to do something. Or someone else at the bar. I mean, he was talking to two women. Maybe the boyfriend saw or husband saw, but there's no evidence of that ever happening. And usually if there's a fight, people are going to be watching, trust me. From the research that I have done, the Ugly Tuna Saloona is not in that place anymore. It moved to another place. It's still operating, I guess, but the building that it is in has never really been occupied by anybody, so it's just standing there. And people are like, maybe Brian got trapped somewhere. And I mean, it happens. You hear these cases of people falling behind a refrigerator or something and they don't come out. So maybe he's still in the Ugly Tuna Saloona. And people have said they are not just going to dig up this place to find out if he's there on a hunch. So that will remain unknown until something happens to that bar. What's interesting I found was there's a case similar to this in the UK. Apparently a man went into a bar, disappeared, and no one could figure out where he was. Well, his family said that he had an odd way of taking a nap sometimes in weird places. They assume that this man was drinking. He fell asleep in a dumpster and was compacted and then sent to the landfill. That is the working theory on that one. So could that have happened to Brian? I mean, it's possible. With this case, literally anything is possible. So tell me what you think really happened to Brian Shaffer.